The sun is out, the surf is high, and everyone is out to catch some waves, including a mischievous otter known only as 841. This sea otter has gone absolutely viral this summer after stealing surfboards, headlines, and the comment sections of my videos. Because, as many of you already know, I'm KP, a marine biologist who has spent over a decade working with sea otters. First question. I've read that 841's mom used to approach humans and was rescued due to her interactions. Could it be something that is bred into 841 to approach like her mom did? Great question. Let's start from 841's origin story. Her mom, Otter 723, also known as Millie. Millie was rescued by the Monterey Bay Aquarium after she was tragically separated from her mom while she was still a dependent pup. This is unfortunately very common, and most of the sea otters I've worked with were rescued for the same reason. Millie then went through Monterey Bay Aquarium's Sea Otter surrogacy program, where they pair orphaned pups with resident female sea otters who raise them and teach them essentially how to be sea otters. During this process, these pups have minimal human contact. And when contact is necessary, the humans wear these giant welding masks and big outfits basically to hide the fact that they are human so that the otters don't become habituated to us and maintain a healthy fear of humans. That way they can be safely released back into the wild. This is not a foolproof plan, and unfortunately these disguises don't always work. Millie displayed some of the same behaviors as 841. She was seen riding kayaks and approaching humans after her release. It got to the point where she was deemed a risk to public safety and her own safety, so she was captured and taken to a facility where it was determined that she was pregnant with Otter 841. Millie gave birth to 841 and raised her in one of those surrogacy programs. And when 841 was successfully weaned, she was released back into the wild. Millie was moved to the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, where you can still see her to this day. So back to the question of could this be something that was bred into 841 to approach like her mom did? Yes and no. It's definitely possible that she inherited some traits like an inherent curiosity and general courageousness, but this specific behavior of approaching humans is a learned behavior. Many of the professionals who were involved in Millie's release and recapture believe that she lost her fear of humans after someone fed her, and she began associating humans with food. And while we don't know the exact reason for the start of 841's behavior, many of the experts at Monterey Bay Aquarium believe her conduct is consistent with that of an animal that has been fed. Quick PSA, please do not feed the wildlife. This is exactly why. Doesn't matter if it is an adorable sea otter swimming alongside your kayak, a bison in Yellowstone, or the pigeons in the park. Nothing good ever comes from feeding wildlife. Next question. Does 841 feel that humans are a threat to her environment? Perhaps she's pregnant. This is possible. Sea otters in estrus can be very unpredictable, and while most southern sea otters have their pups between January and March, they are actually capable of giving birth year-round. It's hard to say for sure though, because sea otters don't typically show when they're pregnant until right up to the very end. It would be nearly impossible to tell unless she was rescued by a facility like Monterey Bay and given a thorough health exam. What do you think should be done about the situation? Relocate? I know there are already efforts underway to capture this sea otter because she has been deemed a risk to public safety. I think relocation is a possibility and might be what they'll try first. The problem is that sea otters are not very migratory and are often very territorial. Relocation efforts rarely succeed, as the otter will typically find its way back within a couple of days. This question. What about efforts to relocate the surfers? Honestly, love this idea. People should avoid this sea otter. Just go surf somewhere else, and if you see the otter, for sure, head back to the beach and wait until it leaves. Unfortunately, I've seen far too many people actively seeking out this otter. If you're close enough to feed these animals, then you are violating the Marine Mammal Protection Act. As I said in my video about orcas sinking ships, a good rule of thumb is if a wild animal changes their behavior because of your presence, then you are far too close. This is a huge problem and something we see far too often. People are just getting way too comfortable being close to wild animals. When people look at a sea otter, they see one of the cutest animals alive, and they're not wrong. But what they don't see is that their closest relative is a wolverine. They don't see that they have the bite force of a black bear. They don't see that they have the tenacity of a honey badger. They are wild, dangerous animals. They are not, in fact, sea doggos. Do you think maybe 841 should have stayed in captivity? Doesn't seem like she's intimidated by people. You're right, she's not intimidated by people at all, at least currently. Not even a little bit. She's a better surfer than most people too. Should she have stayed in captivity? No, I think the surrogacy program, like the ones at Monterey Bay Aquarium, are some of the most incredible and important conservation programs that have ever existed. Over half of the population of sea otters in Elkhorn Slough are descendants of the Monterey Bay Aquarium surrogacy program. I've talked about it a lot on this channel, but a healthy population of sea otters off the Pacific coast is vital for the health and stability of kelp forests, which are some of the most vibrant ecosystems in the world. I think releasing 841 and other sea otters like her is absolutely the right thing to do, but the reality here is that many sea otters who are released through these programs have to be recaptured for various reasons. Monterey Bay Aquarium has an incredible program, but they do not have a 100% success rate. It's part of the process, and you never know unless you try whether or not these otters are going to be able to make it. On the flip side, I also believe that the right thing to do now that we know that 841 is probably not going to be a good fit for her ocean home is to capture her and relocate her to an aquarium or other accredited facility. By all accounts, these encounters are getting more and more aggressive, and it's only a matter of time before she hurts someone or hurts herself. Ultimately, whether she is relocated or placed in a facility under human care, the fate of Otter 841 will be determined by the marine biologists and marine mammal rehabilitation experts from the Department of Wildlife and the NOAA. If she ends up in a facility, then maybe she'll go on to be a surrogate mom, contributing to the healthy reintroduction of stranded pups, just like her mom, Millie. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you next time. As I said in my video about orcas sinking ships, I hope your finger... Oh, no. Redo. That is not what I said. Okay. As I said in the video about orcas sinking ships, I hope your finger gets bitten off. Okay. Do I need to say the part about I hope your finger gets better too?
You don't have to.
Okay. It's getting better. Thanks.